This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Lal Mallavarachchi, assisted by Sanjay, and read by Geethanjali Ramanayaka. The headlines. Considering the objections submitted against the Aswasuma Social Welfare Beneficiary Program commences from today. The Prime Minister begins an official visit to China. The Irrigation Department says water will be issued systematically for agriculture activities amidst the prevailing dry weather. The Met Department says dry spell may last until the end of September. The Madu Church feast will commence today. Atamasthana requests Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena to provide facilities for devotees who visit Anuradhapura sacred site. Foreign news. Anwar al-Haq Kaka sworn in as Pakistan's 8th interim Prime Minister. In sports, the 2023 Rugby World Cup gets underway on the 8th of September in Paris. News in detail. Chairman of the Social Welfare Board, B. Vijayaratna, says that considering the objections submitted against the Aswasuma Social Welfare Beneficiary Program commences from today, there are over 217,000 objections filed. The board expects to complete this process without delay. The chairman of the board says relevant instructions have been given to the district and divisional secretaries at present. After this process, the appeals for this program will be considered. There are about 800,000 appeals presented by the needy families that have not been selected for the beneficial program. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena left Colombo yesterday on a 4-day official visit to China. He will be the chief guest at the 7th China South Asia Expo and the 27th China Kunming Import and Export Exhibition, jointly hosted by the Chinese Ministry of Commerce and the Yunnan Provincial Government. The expo will be held from August 16 to the 20th in Kunming, China. According to expo organizers, 60 countries will participate in this gigantic trade display. They include all South and Southeast Asian countries, the RCEP member countries. The expo is held under the theme Solidarity and Coordination for Common Development. The Prime Minister is accompanied by State Ministers Tharak Balsurya, Janak Wakkumbara and Kanaka Herath, MP Adamini Gunawardena and Secretary to the Prime Minister Anuradha Dissanayake. The Irrigation Department says water will be issued systematically for agriculture activities amidst the prevailing dry weather. There are 73 irrigational tanks and reservoirs under the purview of the Irrigation Department. Director of the department, Sudarshini Vidadapatnan, says water capacity of these reservoirs has decreased up to 29% at present. About 800,000 acres of paddy land in the Yala season have been cultivated under these tanks and reservoirs. Gathering harvest of 50% of these paddy lands have been completed at present. The Irrigation Department has managed to provide water for the other cultivations in the coming days. Sri Lanka is bracing for an extended dry spell that is anticipated to persist until the end of September, owing to the influence of El Nino on the southwest monsoon, as reported by the Department of Meteorology. According to a spokesperson from the department, the typical active period of the southwest monsoon, spanning from May to September, has failed to deliver adequate rainfall this year, contributing to the prolonged dry conditions observed in certain districts. However, the spokesperson assured that the upcoming northeast monsoon, projected for November, is not expected to be impacted by the ongoing weather patterns. The northeast monsoon is of paramount significance for crop cultivations, particularly for staple crops such as rice. Farmers, particularly in the North Central Province, traditionally commence planting by September in anticipation of the northeast monsoon's arrival. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Sri Lanka Insurance, like a father, like a mother.
The holy mass of the annual feast of the Shrine of Our Lady of Madu will take place this morning. The annual feast of the Shrine of Our Lady of Madu will culminate today. The holy mass will be presided over by His Excellency Most Reverend Dr. Brian Udagwe, the Apostolic Nuncio of Sri Lanka. Thousands of Catholics have made their way to Mannar to participate in these festivities. Atamasthanipathi Venerable Pallegama Hemaratna Thera recently admonished Transport, Highways and Mass Media Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena for the failure of authorities to provide public transport services from the Anuradhapura railway station to the sacred Jayashree Mahabodhi for devotees who come by train despite repeated requests. The Thera told the minister that repeated requests to authorities to provide SLTB bus for devotees to travel to Jayashree Mahabodhi premises from the railway station has fallen on deaf ears. The Thera pointed out that due to this, the passengers coming by train inconvenience and have to pay a lot of money for three-wheelers to travel to Sri Mahabodhi premises. The minister called on the Atamasthanaadipati in Anuradhapura to seek his blessings. And that ends local news for now.
Listen, no fake news, false flags, it is the real thing. Breaking records, making history, you know we got the big bling. 10 billion bonus all across the island. Ka-ching! Not millions, talking billions, yeah, it is the big win.
History's highest ever sure bonus declaration for SLIC life policyholders in 2022 exceeds 10 billion rupees.
10 billion bonus gonna make your dreams come true. 10 billion bonus for you.
Sri Lanka Insurance, like a father, like a mother.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
A program is underway to turn the Sri Lanka Transport Board into a profitable institution by 2025, Transport, Highways and Mass Media Minister Bandula Gunawardena said. While addressing a ceremony to hand over appointments to 97 SLTB bus drivers and 64 conductors, the minister said that in the past, when the SLTB had suffered losses, money was received through the Treasury to maintain it. And I quote, money was received not directly but as loans to sustain loss-making institutions. The money was used to pay the salaries and cover the other expenses of the loss-making institutions. At present, a country, it is not possible to pay loan installments, so it's not possible to obtain new loans, unquote, he said. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Watch Life is brought to you by
CIB Janajaya Vasana. Unbelievable discounts and offers throughout August from CIB Janajaya Vasana. Come today itself.
On to Watchlight. Former President of Sri Lanka College of Pediatricians, Dr. Ramya De Silva said that the code for breastfeeding should be strengthened since there are loopholes in the current one. She said the existing code allows professional bodies to accept sponsorships from the industry without any form of advertisement. Addressing a workshop for the media personnel, she said the College of Pediatricians had taken the initiative to support and promote the act of breastfeeding as its leading role. She said that the cost of conducting scientific conferences to discuss the benefits of breastfeeding in a medical sense with foreign experts are very expensive. And that came to you in Watchlight.
CIB Janajaya Vasana. Unbelievable discounts and offers throughout August from CIB Janajaya Vasana. Come today itself.
World News Headlines. Anwar al-Haq Kakal sworn in as Pakistan's 8th interim Prime Minister. More than 50 dead as heavy rains hit Indian state Himachal Pradesh. And Sicily's Mount Etna erupted. Anwar al-Haq Kakal was sworn in as the 8th interim Prime Minister of Pakistan yesterday. Kakal, clad in a grey suit, was administered oath by President Arif Alvi in a ceremony held at the Iwan-i-Sadr in Islamabad, which coincided with the Independence Day. After taking oath, Kakal also met officials of the armed forces and shook hands with them. He was also presented with a guard of honour late at the Prime Minister's house. His first task now as the interim premier will be to choose a cabinet to run the country as it heads into an election period. Kakal was announced as the interim premier on Saturday following meetings between Shehbaz and former opposition leader Raja Rais and several days of speculation about the probable choice for the post. More than 50 people have died in a rain-related incident in the past 24 hours in the northern Indian state of Himachal Pradesh, a top official said. Chief Minister Sukhwinder Singh Sukhu says the heavy rains have triggered landslides and flash floods in the hill state. Yesterday, a temple in Shimla town collapsed after a landslide. Mr. Suku tweeted that 9 bodies had been retrieved from the site. Sicily's Mount Etna, the most active volcano in Europe, erupted on Sunday night with the spectacle caught on camera. Italian authorities said that the volcano had entered a pre-alert phase, moving its warning level from F0 to F1. The volcano frequently erupts, but its activity rarely results in significant damage. Back to the headlines of the world news. Anwar al-Haq Khakar sworn in as Pakistan's 8th interim prime minister. More than 50 dead as heavy rains hit Indian state of Himachal Pradesh. And Sicily's Mount Etna erupted. That ends world news.
Development News is brought to you by
Job opportunities from Desh Sri Lanka in Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Oman, including company housemaid, salary 156,000 rupees, 23 to 57 years. Contact 037 7500 500.
On to development news. The program to increase the organic fertilizer production at the Valimada Ulugalavatta Organic Solid Fertilizer Processing Centre commenced recently with the participation of Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Amaravira. This centre exports 5,000 metric tons of solid organic fertilizers processed by it every month. Most of this fertilizer is being supplied for cultivation project currently being built in Dubai. The Minister of Agriculture, Mr. Mahinda Amaravira, inspected the production activities at the centre and also inspected the successful cultivation of vegetables and papaya grown in shelters prepared with organic fertilizers. And that was development news.
Job opportunities for women from Desh Sri Lanka in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait and Oman. Company housemaids, caretakers and home cooks in Saudi Arabia for ages 23 to 57 years. Salaries starting from 156,000 rupees. Interviews are now on with foreign agents. You can now travel overseas free of charge. Branches Colombo, Kurunagala, Anuradhapura and Matara. Contact number 037 7500 500. Desh Sri Lanka Foreign Development Agency.
On to sports news. The 2023 Rugby World Cup gets underway on the 8th of September with France taking on New Zealand in a mouth-watering curtain race in Paris. The All Blacks arrive as favourites to lift the Webb Ellis Cup for what would be a record 4th time, having just won the Rugby Championship in convincing fashion. But host France can be sensational on their day, as it is set to be the perfect showdown to kickstart the 7-week tournament. The fixtures scheduled to see Six Nations champion Ireland, Eddie Jones, struggling Australia and England all get their campaigns underway the following day, with Steve Borthwick's side undertaking a tricky assignment of facing in-form Argentina Mansa in what is likely to be a decisive Pool D match. Reigning world champion South Africa and Scotland face off in same city the following day in Pool B before Wales begins their tournament against Fiji in Bordeaux. And that's sports news.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life ekේ change eකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Sri Lanka's rupee closed at 321 and 322 to the US dollar in the spot market yesterday, slightly weaker from Friday's 319 and 50 cents to 320 and 50 cents to the US dollar, dealers said, while bond yields closed higher. Sri Lanka's Friday extended a deadline to restructure the debt of the Employees' Provident Fund. And that was business news.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life ekේ change eකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
On to economic news. The Bank of Ceylon has decided to reduce interest rates for leasing, gold pawning and small and medium-scale enterprise credit facilities since this week. Bank of Ceylon's Chief Executive Officer and General Manager Russell Fonseca told the local media yesterday that the bank had taken this decision, taking into account the benefit of the fund inflows that occurred with the central bank's lowering of the policy interest rates and the reserve requirement on 2 occasions. The reduction in interest rates will begin this week, and the interest charge on leasing will be reduced to 16%, interest on gold mortgage advanced to 20%, and interest on SME credit facilities to 17%. And that was economic news.
Weather report.
A few showers will occur in the western and Sabaragaon provinces and in the Gaul, Matra, Kandy and Nuwara districts. Showers or thunder showers will occur at a few places in the Uva and eastern provinces during the evening or night. Mainly fair weather will prevail elsewhere over the island. And that was the weather report. Prior to concluding this news broadcast, the headlines once again. Considering the objections submitted against the Aswasuma Social Welfare Beneficial Program, from today. The Prime Minister begins an official visit to China. The Irrigation Department says water will be issued systematically for agriculture activities amidst the prevailing dry weather. The Met Department says dry spell may last until the end of September. The Maru Church feast will commence today. Atamasthana Adhipati requests Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena to provide facilities for the devotees who visit Anuradhapura sacred site. Foreign news, Anwar al-Haq Kakao, sworn in as Pakistan's 8th interim Prime Minister. In sports, the 2023 Rugby World Cup gets underway on the 8th of September in Paris. And with that, we end this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.